Hello everyone. Today I would like to briefly present my project on digital prosopography of women in medieval Iberia. But before I do that, I would like you to think for a second about these questions. Can you name 5 medieval men? Probably. How about 5 women? Not so easy, right? What these questions do is exemplify the gender-based knowledge gap, with the second question becoming even more challenging if we want to talk about non-royals and non-English people. To overcome this gap, I chose one work from the 1300s, better known as the Chronicle of Castile, which was composed during the regency of Maria de Molina and likely sponsored or inspired by her as a part of the political cultural program, better known as Molinismo, although you would not know that from visiting her pages on Wikipedia or Britannica. The open access platform I created in 2024 was generated within FEMIber, an EU-funded project. I should mention that the title that we use today to refer to the chronicle is misleading, as it is not limited to Castile, and there are even mentions of women from Turkey and Persia. This platform is a result of a manually extracted database of all women mentioned in the work, and there is no distinction between documented and non-historical women, and the current design increases the visibility of non-noble and anonymous women, whether they are individuals or indistinguishable members of a group. In addition to the basic information upon entering the site, there is also a database guide. It was adapted to meet the needs of a wider audience, and it lists the criteria used to define categories and values, which are then used as filters to search through the database. If we go to the tab Database Search, we see that there is a filtered and a free text search option. The first filter allows us to look for specific names or simply for anonymous individuals or groups. Just to give you an example of what profile views look like, let's look at Orembiais. As medieval sources did not use standardized names and would often contain mistakes, to improve women's findability, names have been standardized, and they usually have some kind of a descriptor to contextualize the person. There is a line or two about the documented individual, and the names under which the person appears in this chronicle are listed below. This is followed by structured data sets called cases, to which I will return to in a second. Say, for example, we are interested in kinship structures. Here it is possible to search for values such as mother, father, sisters, brothers, both including step-siblings. Others, used for example for relatives such as grandparents, cousins, uncles, and so on. And there is also value none, which signifies that this work offers no kinship information on that individual or group. Now, the male-based model of kinship comes with certain problems. The information can be inconclusive or the chronicle can contradict itself. Here we have an example of Beatrice, and if we search for her father, we will see that there are two results, both followed by an asterisk. That is because she is mistakenly related to 2 men. Regarding this and other similar incoherencies, which are probably scribal mistakes, the database uses certain symbols to highlight them and make the user aware of the issue. Further on the filter panel, next to the field religion, there is another category, religion flag, which indicates how fate is determined and expresses various degrees of probability. Users can also look at women's traits, subdivided in these 3 categories. They can also search for partnerships that go from one-time encounter to long-term relationships. They can explore if women's motherhood is addressed in any way, if they are linked to instances of physical violence, whether these acts are done to or by these women. And finally, the category of deceased provides information from burial sites to translation of saints. If we simulate a search, Let's go to a frequent name, say Elvira, and we select the value marriage. The search results are listed to the right. And if we pick one of them, a profile view will open. And here we can see a standardized name, some information on the woman in question, followed by her recorded names, which vary in this chronicle, and below that the datasets internally called cases are listed. The requested results are in bold, while other recorded values from the same case remain visible so that users can see how they interact with other elements. Additionally, a summary in English contains references to relevant men, but also links to other women. Clicking on them would open a new window with their profile page. As we can see here, every case also contains the relevant text passages. Sometimes there are longer quotes belonging to even several chapters due to the male-oriented and fragmented storytelling. Also, it is important to mention that whenever the manuscripts used for the edition vary, the differences are marked with forward slashes. Users can find comments and explanations in the field notes for everything that the current model does not accommodate. And at the very bottom, there is always a list of every chapter the recorded women are mentioned in, with the link to the Chronicles digital edition. Finally, to enhance the database's connectedness to other open link data, Wikidata identifiers were added to profile views whenever available. Lastly, I should point out that the platform includes various graphs. So, for example, this first chart here allows us to track presence of individuals and groups in different reigns. And the example of Queen Urraca, who is all the way to the right, shows us how underrepresented she is compared to other men. And here, all the way at the bottom, we can see the benefits of going beyond explicit statements to approach religion, the value, action, or attitude understood as the most personalized way of expressing someone's beliefs. Hopefully, we can talk about some of these aspects in the discussion. I thank you for joining in.